I'm Sash from the movie show And the Shade with Active FM. And today I'm joined with a very lovely lady. Please, will you introduce yourself?
I am Ofra Nissani. I am a fashion expert based in Canada, Toronto, Canada, representing a brand called Guru, a 100% sustainable brand. And I've been in the industry for 20 years. I had my own business as well, having multiple store operations. So I know a lot about the fashion industry.
Wow, that's amazing. That's really cool. Okay, so first question, what inspired you? So what was the first thing that kind of got you into the whole fashion industry? What gave you the passion for fashion?
I'm not sure if it's something that like you get or rather that you have more of that interest and piecing things together and being unique and just I personally am driven by compliments. I like it when people say, I love it that you wore it like that. So yeah, I think that's sort of one of those things. And then the other end of it is just I love the business, just business in general. So when you put the two together, it's like a perfect combination for me.
Yes, that's awesome. So it's about being creative with clothing and just bringing out passion and creativity through what you wear.
Exactly. I think, and also uniqueness is a big thing to me as well. I really like that people need to be kind of a little bit unique when it comes to style and putting things together and just finding their flavor.
That's awesome. So you mentioned that you're into sustainable fashion. Can you just explain, because I personally I'm not 100% clued up on what that means. Can you just tell us what exactly sustainable fashion stands for and means?
For sure. So I'll start by saying that the brand Guru that I work for, Guru has been around for 20 years. So even before sustainability was like a thing, Catherine Bowes, who's the owner and the founder of the company, started this whole project of upcycled clothing before it was even like popular, before the term was even like out there. And because she was driven by passion, right? I'm also driven by the passion of not damaging our environment. So the combination of all of these together has really brought this like kind of to life of like educating people on what sustainability is. But the word sustainable is just thrown around for everything these days. So for us, what it means is that it's a cycle where it's sustainable and we can keep up with it. So in our end, we're upcycling clothing and taking previously loved textiles and fashion and changing it into something that people can wear again and again and again. So for us, it's sustainable in that respect. And that's what we do from an upcycling perspective.
Okay. So do you encourage people to, I'm from South Africa and we have a company here called H&M. I think they are worldwide. And what they encourage people to do is they'll say, bring in old clothing because they want to do the whole sustainable fashion thing. So they say, bring in old clothing. We'll even give you a discount then on your next purchase. How is that how you work it as well? Or how do you guys do the sustainable fashion thing in the industry and as you sell and all of that?
Sure, yeah. So what H&M does is different from what we do. They're into mass production. So they want to get some of that product back, one for optics. They want it to look good on their company, but also they don't upcycle it, they recycle it. So they might repurpose it, literally break it down into pieces. It could be going into stuffing, like they could use it for stuffing. I'm not sure exactly how it works, but they might also send some of it to other parts of the world. Like I know Ghana is famous for taking in old clothes and reselling it in Africa. So I'm not exactly sure how H&M does it, but they're usually doing recycling. Most of it will probably end up in a landfill, I'll be honest with you, because their clothes are not so well made that we all want to feel like we're doing the right thing. And if it ends up back in their bins, it's probably not in great condition to either resell, but it might be able to be potentially recycled. But there's a lot of it that needs to be recycled. So there's only so much you can make. Upcycling is when you break it all down. You might even see like the stitching lines and things. It's just an old fabric that we just break it down and repurpose it. So it's just making it into something completely different, but just a new item altogether instead of literally chopping it up and recycling it.
Yes. Wow. So how did you get into the industry? And then what advice, because I know for people, especially young people, when they're trying to, start their career, get into different industries, it can be very difficult to like find like almost like a crack in the industry that like lets you get into it and, then become whoever you want to be in the industry. So how did you get in the industry, and what advice would you give to people who'd also like to get in the fashion industry?
Oh, okay. That's a great question. So I've been in the industry, like I said, for 20 years. I started off with my sister running a business together. We had multiple boutiques that we operated. We carried a lot of different sort of smaller brands. And along the way, we learned a lot about what's happening in the industry. And eventually, when I left that business before the pandemic, Guru was one of the brands that we were carrying. And I decided I wanted to work with Catherine because I have a big passion for environmental as well. So it was like this perfect combination. But if I had a suggestion for anybody who wants to enter the fashion world, I would say follow what you're most interested in, but really keep your eye on sustainability, because we know that that's going to be a huge thing in the future. Come up with ideas. I would also say look at maybe starting off with I see a lot of young people after the pandemic, especially now, starting to do their own thing in the fashion industry, but it's not what it traditionally was. Now, what their own thing is they're going to thrift shops and they're thrifting other old pieces, or going to estate sales, and they're selling it online. And I love that, because that is sustainable. That's good for the environment, but it also is good for their own bottom dollar too, because they can get more margins off of it, and they sort of dip their feet into the water, and they get used to the whole world of the fashion industry, and they could do their own thing in the process.
That's awesome. That's amazing advice. Thank you.
For
And
sure.
then how does a ordinary person become part of the whole sustainable fashion movements, and how does one like support it? Because so I know in South Africa we've obviously got like a store like H&M will say bring back old clothing, etc., etc., but like what else can you do? What else can you, how can you help the whole movement as just an ordinary person who maybe isn't into fashion? Obviously everyone buys clothes though, so yeah.
Another great question. I mean, I would say the first thing to do is buy quality clothes, and maybe buy less of it. Buy things that are going to last longer. I think part of the problem right now is everybody has this sort of throwaway mentality. Buy it, use it. I only paid $5 for it on sale, so I'll just chuck it, a few weeks
Yeah.
later when it's garbage. But people forget that process of making that one piece took a lot of manpower. It took a lot of literally power, physical like power to generate energy. It took water, it took chemicals. All that could be avoided if we put that process into quality clothing, even if it's synthetic, even if it's something that's like typically considered to be low grade quality, like polyester or something. But there is still high grade polyester, and there's still high grade sort of plastic textiles like nylon, things that will last longer, that won't break down so easily. So that would be my first recommendation. Make sure you buy better quality clothing, even if it's secondhand. Even if it's secondhand, you're actually doing the biggest service by buying used clothing that way. But if you want to buy new clothing, I would say definitely buy quality, buy less of it. And also buy maybe more natural fibers too. That's another option as well. If you don't want to buy synthetics of some sort for one reason or another, natural fibers can be broken down into the earth better. Over time, they can literally decompose, but plastics and synthetics cannot. They can't biodegrade. But I should also mention too that if there's a lot of chemicals in there, that's also not great for the environment, but at least it can break down over time.
That's awesome. Thank you. I actually love how you mentioned go a little bit for the expensive route and maybe buy less clothing, because sometimes we get in that whole mindset of I need a whole new wardrobe, but I need it cheap. and actually go for something that's quality and maybe get a little bit less clothing, but then it lasts you longer and it serves you well. So that's really awesome.
I do usually notice that a certain age that happens for women, especially, that they get to a certain point where they wake up and they go, okay, I'm so sick and tired of buying things for dirt cheap and it breaking down. Then I have to go to the store again. I have to start the whole process again. And yeah, it might seem trendy because you buy it for a short period of time and then if the trend goes out. But if you buy those basics that are like classics and good quality, you could literally have them forever and pass them on to kids. And like, so I mean, I personally have bins of clothes that there's no need for me to give it away unless I'm just tired of it. But I would love to just hang on to it a little bit longer, maybe for my daughter, or just like in general, just to wear again in 20 years, So yeah, I think that's a good point. I personally don't love the haul mentality either of a haul. Let's go to, like you said, H&M and just do a haul for dirt cheap. And I mean, we all love to get new things, but it's kind of damaging.
Yes. And you don't need it. You don't need to buy excessively like that. Yeah.
Exactly.
And can I just say the best clothing is from your mom and your gran. And those items, I love those items. They are like timeless. There's and
so true.
fashion always comes back. Like it's really cool. So the fact that you're able to pass that down the generations. So has sustainable fashion changed your fashion style in any way? And if it has, how so?
Yes, I think 100% it has. I mean, I love the brand myself. Guru is a beautiful brand, but like I said, I like being unique and I like people saying, hey, where did you get that from? And maybe like asking me if there's more of it. And I say, no, it's one of a kind because it's upcycled. Or even if I buy something from, like, if I were to thrift or something, that might also be an option too. I just know that they can't find it. I just like that beauty of having something that not everybody has, and it catches people's eyes and people they just sort of covet it from a distance.
Yes, that's really cool. And then which companies, so there's obviously companies that say they follow sustainable fashion, but I think some companies just say that because they need to say it because, otherwise they're going to receive like a bad rap if they don't. But which companies actually do follow sustainable fashion, that if you support them, you're actually supporting sustainable fashion?
That's also, yeah, very good question. I would look for certification when it comes to that, because at least with certification, they go through a process and they have to sort of follow these guidelines and follow the rules of the certification process. So I would look for some sort of certification, and more new certifications are starting to roll out around the world. So there will probably be on tags. Granted, you will pay a little extra for that certification because it's the real deal. You know that it's a quality product. You know that the people who are making it were treated fairly and it's a fairly traded product. So there's components to it that are really vital to make it that goes a little extra down the road. But I would hate to blast a company right now without knowing for sure who is doing what. I do see terms along the way, and I don't know if you're familiar with greenwashing, which I'm assuming you probably know a little bit about greenwashing, where you're told one thing, but it's not exactly the way that they sort of manipulate the wording, and it may not be exactly what you think it is, and they're not lying, but they're not telling the truth either. So it's manipulation in the industry, and that goes from everything from clothes to cars. I mean, it could really go the gamut. But I think the best thing to do is look for certification. I can tell you like some of the dirty little secrets of the fashion industry. Like I could definitely tell you that some of the brands that are high-end brands like Gucci and I think Prada was one of them, but like in 2018, I forget who came out, but one of the brands, Burberry came out and was caught burning clothes. Like it happens all the time. They just don't want to get caught doing it, but they were caught burning their extra, like their overstock, because they don't want to sell it to the general public anymore if it's on sale, because it ruins their reputation.
Oh,
And I think
wow.
that's something we need to get away from because
Yeah.
it's really bad for our environment to burn clothes. And
Yeah.
textile producers also burn their textiles too if they don't use it. So dead stock now is becoming popular too. Instead of burning it, people are starting to use it for just like smaller batch clothing.
Sure. Wow. So, in terms of your procedure, how do you go about producing sustainable fashion? So, like, where do you purchase from, like the materials and that? Where do you get that from? And also, how does that? I know you have mentioned that it can be pricier, obviously, because it's ensuring people that worked on it were in good working conditions, and because you're paying for the quality, it can cost a bit more. But how much does that cost? Like, what is the difference between the sustainable way of producing clothing and the cost of producing almost fast fashion, if I could word it like that?
Yes, you can definitely word it that way. Our story, I'll explain a little bit about our story. We have a team in India, and the team in India actually goes out to the small towns and small villages and barters with the women's in their home. And they say, we'll take your previously loved saris, and in exchange, we'll give you maybe daily essentials, like maybe some soaps or anything that they need. So they procure all these previously loved saris. And then when we design them here in Canada, they reinvent it there. So they have to pull it apart. There might be some track marks or little details that the beautiful flaws that make them unique. Then they break it down and turn it into the new styles that we make. It's a beautiful story. Everybody wins out of it. We just love that we can offer that we can make that kind of come together. As for pricing, yes, our pricing would be definitely higher than H&M, but the value is different. First of all, the styles would be different. Also, the prints are all different. So having it be completely different and then add the value of, you're not causing any damage to the environment, because now we didn't have to go and make a whole new textile. We didn't have to make go through the process of using water, go through the process of new chemicals. We didn't have to do that to make the fabrics. It was already in place. And then we've also created that relationship with our team by, offering them good paying jobs and roles to create these new pieces. And it never has to see a landfill that way. So the price would be a little bit different. H&M really undercuts. They really, really undercut. It's not great. It's definitely not great. And I'm sure they could do better. And I could think of definitely plenty of ways that they could do better. And hopefully over time, they will do better. And hopefully they're going to continue working on it. But there is a price difference. It's hard to say exactly how much.
Okay. And then, so you obviously work for Guru at the moment. How do people, obviously, because I live in South Africa and I'm not 100% sure if I've seen, do you guys have stores internationally, or is it just?
No stores. We have no stores, actually. We're just a wholesale brand. We do sell retail on our website too, but we sell to stores, mostly across. We have some European stores that carry our brand. We have mostly Canada and the US, heavy on the North American side.
Yes. So people in America and Canada, if they wanted to support you, they obviously wouldn't go to your website, or can they go to your website? They can go to your website, and then also they can go to the stores that you sell your clothing to.
Yes, so they can always.
Yes, and they can always
reach out to us if they want to find a store close by to them. But if they're in countries like South Africa, we don't have any accounts in South Africa, but we do have plenty around US and in Canada, and some in different parts of Europe as well. But they can always buy off of our website as well. We get lots of orders internationally from our website at guruforlife.ca.
Perfect. And then I have to ask, are you a online shopper, or do you prefer shopping in person?
I'm both. I'm a hybrid for sure. I do like to go into stores, definitely, but you want to see it and touch it. You still always, I love that. But I see the value in also shopping online, because you might buy something that's from somewhere else that you can't find everywhere, and that unique element that I love that often comes from shopping online.
And then last question, I have to, I can't help myself. So I do the movie show, and I'm actually into film and all of that on Active FM. And I wanted to know, because every single film has costume design in it. And I wanted to know if there's a particular film that the costume design really stood out for you and that you really, really love.
In recent years?
Whenever it can be a recent film but just a film that like off the top of your head that you can think of that when you looked at the costume design, you were completely blown away.
So it's not a film, it's a TV show. Does that work?
Okay, that works, yes.
I really love Bridgerton. I think
Okay.
they do a fantastic job of costumes, but I also like Dynasty for general fashion.
Okay, very
Also
nice.
on Netflix.
Both Netflix films. Yeah,
Yes.
the Bridgerton costume design is amazing, especially because of they're taking it into a completely different time frame and yeah.
The period pieces. I can really appreciate the pieces, like the period pieces where, they go, like you said, they go back in time and it's just they make it look so elegant and
Yes.
just, it's really professional looking.
Yes. And then can I also ask, what is your opinion on the costume design in a film like Dune?
A film like which one?
Dune. Have you watched Dune? You know the
I
new
haven't
film?
watched it.
Haven't watched? Okay, you need to watch it, and then we'll have to organize a second interview where we can just talk about the costume design for Dune.
Yeah, now you got me thinking I gotta watch it soon. Okay, it's on my radar.
There we go. It's a long film, but the costume, I thought the costume design was really good in that one. It's completely different. It's like, when you see something you've never seen before.
Right. Okay. Yeah. That's on my radar now. Thank you for mentioning it, dude.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. This has been so much fun. Is there anything you'd like to say or add or advertise? Anything?
Yeah, I would love for people to check out our website. It's GURUFORLIFE.ca. So guruforlife.ca, and CA is for Canada. And yeah, if you can help us promote the word, that would be great.
That's awesome. I'm so glad I've done this interview because I actually didn't know about you guys. So it's really nice to actually find out what you're into, what your mission is. And yeah, it's been a really nice chat about fashion. And I'm definitely going to be shopping for quality from now on rather than quantity.
Oh, I'm so glad. Can I make one more suggestion for your audience as well?
Yes.
Please take care of your clothes. I think a lot of people, they don't, I think this is what's missing in the equation of all this is if you have nice clothes, take care of them. Wash your whites with your whites, with your colors with your colors. Wash them in, if you feel like something's going to snag and rip apart, get a dollar store wash bag. They're actually high quality. Put your clothes into the wash bag so it doesn't pull and get ripped in the wash with like zippers and buttons and things like that. And also use things like Shout. If there's a stain, don't just discard it. Use a little bit of Shout, get that stain out and keep it for life, So just some little recommendations that I think people need to preserve their clothes better too.
Yes, definitely. Well, thank you so much. It's been so nice chatting to you.
You as well.
Thank you. And good luck and all the best with everything that you guys are doing. And you're doing an amazing job. So thank you very much.